my brother is avenged. I must walk my own path.
The score's mine to settle.
You'd be forgiven for wanting a little revenge.
I'll make you pay for what you did to my parents!
The man who made me do all those unspeakable things. I'm going to kill him.
When you've had your revenge, then what will you do?
Revenge is well-worn territory when it comes to storytelling. Everyone from Inigo Montoya to the Sith has gone on a quest for vengeance with varying levels of success. But despite being so well-worn, the topic itself has a surprising amount of nuance. Depending on which book, film, or video game you look at, revenge can be shown as futile or justified, a detriment or a necessary evil, a thirst to be quenched, or a base urge to be ignored. In recent years, several video games have tackled this topic head-on. In this essay, I'll be focusing on two of them, Tales of Arise and Final Fantasy XVI. Come with me as I explore how they approach the topic of revenge and how it serves as a microcosm that reflects the larger themes at play. Fair warning, while I will not be spoiling the entirety of either game, the relevant plot points do take place several hours into each of them. So if you want to experience either game spoiler-free, now is your chance to escape unscathed. Despite the beautiful and colorful art style, Tales of Arise handles some incredibly dark themes. The opening exposition tells the player that for the past 300 years, the people of Dana have been enslaved by their planetary twins populace, the Renans. One of the key differences between these two peoples is the Renans' ability to wield astral arts, which are this setting's equivalent to magical abilities. Our story begins with Alphen, a Danan slave in a mysterious iron mask, who soon crosses paths with a Renan fugitive named Xion. Alphen is inexplicably unable to feel pain, while Xion has an equally mysterious ability, referred to as thorns, that harms anyone who attempts to touch her. Despite their opposing statuses, the two reluctantly join forces in order to take down the Renan lords ruling over the different regions of Dana. After overcoming the First Lord, our protagonists are met by a young Danan named Rinwell. Her family was slaughtered by one of the Renan lords, fueling her hatred of Renans even beyond her planet being enslaved by them. Her distrust of Xion is something she gradually works through as their journey together unfolds. Rinwell guides them to the capital of the region of Cislodia, whose lord strikes fear and distrust into the Danan populace by enlisting them to spy on each other. One such spy is a young man named Law, whose father Zephyr has served as a resistance leader and a mentor to Alphen. Zephyr is taken captive by the Renan Lord Ganabelt and publicly executed as a warning to other Danans who would dare resist Renan rule. A distraught Law joins forces with our protagonist to dispose of Ganabelt and avenge his father. Eventually, our party, which has grown to include the Danan soldier Kisara and her Renan Lord Dohalim, travel to the region of Mahag Sar. They are surprised to learn that the citizens of the capital city of Niez have seemingly overthrown their Renan overlord Almadria. However, the party is appalled by the resistance group's methods. Much of Niez and its outskirts lie in ruin. In their hatred, the resistance group known as the Darkwings considered innocent Danans to be nothing more than collateral damage in their fight for liberation.
We just swiped the Renan's explosives, and then we blasted them all to hell and back.
And how'd you manage to avoid hurting your own people?
I didn't, that's how. But the chance to take out a lord was worth the sacrifice.
After being sent on a wild goose chase, the group returns to Niez to discover that Almadria has been captured, and the leader of the Darkwings plans to hold a public execution. Unbeknownst to him, this was her plan all along. Almadria intended to make use of a horrific method of astral energy extraction, called hollowing, by riling up the citizens of the capital city until they attempted to burn her at the stake. The party can do nothing but watch in horror as an entire mob is reduced to nothingness, their astral energy evaporating until nothing but a reflective liquid substance remains. Only then does an enraged Rinwell recognize Almadria as the lord who slaughtered her family. She prepares a spell, warning the rest of the party that she'll kill them if any of them get in the way of her revenge.
Stay out of my way or I'll kill you!
To everyone's shock, Law bears the brunt of the attack in an attempt to talk Rinwell down. He pleads with her not to kill Almadria when she has the same hatred in her eyes as the citizens they just witnessed be slaughtered.
I can't let you kill her. Not while your face is full of the same hatred as those people who died.
She relents, and the group must now reconcile how to move forward on their mission to free Dandans without letting their pain and their hatred consume them. In contrast to the vibrant world we see in Tales of Arise, the world of Valisthea in Final Fantasy XVI practically screams, dark, brooding tale of violence and revenge. And don't worry, it delivers. Rather than an extraplanetary conquest, people of Valisthea are enslaved shortly after birth if it's discovered that they have magical capabilities. Most anyone can use magic with the help of a crystal, but those with innate abilities, called bearers, are marked with a brand and used as slave labor, conscripted soldiers, and worse. Only a handful of magic users have any modicum of respect, the dominants who embody the fearsome power of icons. As the story begins, we are introduced to a branded soldier by the name of Clive Rosfield. He and his small unit have been tasked by the Holy Empire of Sandbreck to track down and kill the dominant of Shiva, who is currently conscripted to fight for the Iron Kingdom. A flashback reveals that Clive was actually a Marquess of what was once the Duchy of Rosaria. His younger brother Joshua became the dominant of the Phoenix, while Clive enlisted in order to be a member of his elite guard called the Shields. Soon they make for a fort on the outskirts of Rosaria called Phoenix Gate, where tradition dictates the dominant of the Phoenix visit on the eve of battle. However, Imperial soldiers sneak into the Rosarian camp, killing Duke Rosfield and triggering young Joshua's transformation into the Phoenix. Amid the chaos, Clive spots a mysterious hooded figure, followed by an even more mysterious second icon of fire. The two icons have a devastating battle during which the Phoenix appears to be killed. In the aftermath, Clive's traitorous mother orders him to be branded and conscripted into the Empire's service. When we reunite with Clive 13 years later, his path is singular. Do whatever it takes to survive long enough to get revenge on the dominant of the mystery icon. His unit fights their way to the Iron Kingdom soldiers and the dominant of Shiva, only for Clive to recognize his target as none other than Jill, his childhood friend who grew up as a ward within the duchy. Unable to land the killing blow, he turns his sword on his fellow Imperial soldiers instead. Just when Iron Kingdom reinforcements arrive, so does the leader of an underground resistance movement, a dominant named Sid, who takes him to safety.
This way.
Sid agrees to help Clive find the mystery dominant in exchange for helping in Sid's quest to free the bearers and dominants of Valisthea, and allow them to die on their own terms. This soon puts them in the crosshairs of Benedicta, the dominant of the wind icon Garuda. Much to Clive's dismay, the mysterious hooded figure appears once again, causing Clive to embody the second icon of fire, now known as Ifrit. Unable to bear the guilt of having killed his own brother, Clive begs for Sid to kill him. But instead, his new companions see him through this devastating revelation. Jill suggests the two of them travel back to Phoenix Gate to ascertain what really happened that night 13 years ago, and assures Clive the two of them will face the truth together. Traveling deep within Phoenix Gate confirms Clive's status as a dominant, giving him the closure he needs to accept the truth and continue alongside Sid in his quest to rid bearers and dominants alike of their oppression. As time passes, this rebellious crew sets its sights on destroying the Mother Crystal belonging to the Iron Kingdom, the very same nation that had enslaved Jill and forced her to use her powers as a dominant to fight for them. Jill confides to Clive that in order for her to truly move past the horrors they put her through, she needs to accompany him and kill the man responsible.
The leader of the Crystalline Orthodox. The man who made me do all those unspeakable things. I'm going to kill him. It's what I need to do to put the past behind me. What I need to move forward.
Clive agrees. Jill was there to see Clive through the tragedy of his past, and now Clive will see Jill through as she faces her own. They fight their way to the inner sanctum of the Mother Crystal, where Jill's prey awaits. It is here we learn the extent of his depravity.
For years I followed your orders, fought your wars, all to protect the children you took, just as you took me. And what did you do in return? You put them in chains and you slit their throats!
Despite facing certain death, he continues to condemn Jill's very existence as a dominant, right up until her sword delivers the killing blow. May the blessing of the crystals go with you, she says, her past now laying dead at her feet. The stories of revenge present in these games have stuck with me ever since my original playthroughs. They serve not only to develop each of the protagonists involved, but also reflect the larger themes at play for each game. The elephant in the room here is how Rinwell's narrative plays out, so we'll tackle that one first. She reveals to the entire party that when her family was attacked, she was the only one they had time to hide away safely. She could do nothing but listen helplessly as the rest of her family was slaughtered by Almeidrea. And yet, when her opportunity for revenge arrives, it's thwarted by a male character, one who was able to exact his own revenge with the full support of Rinwell, Alphen, and Shion.
What about you? Are you not the one who got revenge for his father? Don't I deserve that as much as you?
So, what gives? Why was revenge an acceptable route for Law, but not for Rinwell? The scenario is complicated, and I won't pretend that it was handled flawlessly, but the context surrounding both of their stories can help us to appreciate what the developers were trying to say. The overall goal for our band of heroes is Dahnan liberation. With the exception of Dohalim, all the other lords are perfectly content with perpetuating Dahnan's slavery and oppression. In Cyslodia, Ganabelt's regime eventually broke Law's convictions to the point that he became a Snake Eye, working against his own people and even helping to capture his own father. His change of heart happens just before he loses his father for good. The party's immediate next step is to confront Ganabelt, where Law delivers the killing blow. It's a swift vengeance that appears to take place within hours of Zephyr's death, maybe a day later at most. In contrast, Rinwell has been carrying her hatred for Renans for most of her life. Even as her fellow Dahnan companions realize the benefit of working alongside Renans like Shion and Dohalim, Rinwell voices her apprehension rather frequently. The party had also just seen the end result of what pure hatred for Renans can do. Niaz was laid waste by its own inhabitants without regard for innocent life. The hatred with which the citizens tried to burn Almeidrea served as their very literal undoing, allowing her to slaughter an entire angry mob without lifting so much as a finger. When taking these factors into consideration, it makes sense why Law would be scared of the hatred he sees in Rinwell's eyes as she prepares her spell to attack. Not only that, but she threatens to kill her friends if they get in her way. Hers was a hatred that had stewed far longer, and was now consuming her. In the aftermath, she shakily admits that her hatred was all that has kept her going for all these years. To this, Shion offers some words of wisdom.
But if hate is what has kept you going ever since that day, then let it be your strength. When you've had your revenge, when we've beaten Almeidrea, then what will you do? You need a reason to live, Rinwell, not an excuse to die. Understand?
Regardless of whether this particular plot point was handled effectively, I do feel it serves a central theme of the game. Hatred cannot be the foundation for a better world. While it is true that the party intends to take down the Renan lords of each region by any means necessary, their ultimate goal is freedom for everyone. Rather than senseless violence or even turning the tables to enslave the Renans, they determine the only way to truly move forward and to heal is to set aside the centuries of bad blood and build something better, together.
At this point, what's one more Renan as long as they're on our side?
So you don't see every Renan as an enemy?
Our goal isn't to hunt down and kill all Renans. We only arm ourselves as much as we need to set ourselves free.
The dark reflection of this ideal is seen in the leader of the Darkwings, whose hatred of Renans leads to a disregard for all life, so long as Renans are among the dead. The central theme is the hope that if both peoples can truly see each other as people and not as others, the past can be put aside and the world can begin to heal. anger and hatred of Renans won't allow the Daemons to live in peace. It will only serve to fuel more violence. It's a story whose darkest moments allow the hero's vision of the future to shine even brighter. Despite the overlapping narrative beats, the larger themes present in Final Fantasy XVI take a much different, much darker approach. Both Clive and Jill have killed untold numbers of people in their conscripted service to their respective captors. When Clive's lone motivation of revenge is gone, his reaction is to beg for his own death. He doesn't want to live with the guilt of seemingly killing his own brother, and his revenge was the only fuel that kept him going for the past 13 years. Much like Rinwell, he must now find a new reason to keep living, and keep fighting, once this sole motivation is gone. However, the fight for a better Valisthea is not about uniting or finding common ground. If Tales of Arise is an olive branch, Final Fantasy XVI is a controlled burn. The problems of Valisthea will not be fixed only with words, replacing choice leaders, or freeing the oppressed. For Valisthea to have any hope of a bright future, the present must be set ablaze. As Cid reveals, the very source of the blight spreading across Valisthea is what gives its people magical and political power, the Mother Crystals. To heal this world, the very source of its power and abundance must be destroyed. Along the way, the party must embrace their status as outlaws, working outside of the established order entirely in order to bring it crashing down.
The Crystal's blessing is a prison, Clive. And if it's an outlaw the world needs to help it break free, I can think of none better than you.
When Jill tells Clive that her closure can only come with the death of the man responsible for her suffering, and the suffering of countless others, his immediate concession is a reflection of the state of the world. With the stakes they're up against, revenge bears no inherent morality or immorality. Jill's revenge, much like Clive's journey to accept the truth, enables her to proceed with their mission unhindered by her past.
This was a sin for which I had to atone. Now I can continue at your side with my head held high.
Revenge serves as a tool that provides our heroes the closure they need to do the things that the world is not ready for. I appreciate how these two narratives can reach opposing conclusions using similar themes. In a world like Dana that can only be healed by unity, revenge could cost our heroes everything. Unnecessary violence can serve to undo any progress that may have been made in helping two sides meet in the middle. Even the motivations for violence, whether it be revenge or general hatred of another group, must be set aside before healing can begin. In contrast, when a raised earth approach is the only way for a world like Valisthea to have any hope of a future, motivation and morality have no bearing. There is no cost for revenge when the world in its current state is beyond redemption. The stories we're given are as complex as they are entertaining. Each person experiencing them is likely to walk away with their own feelings on whose motivations were justified, whose weren't, and whether each story was executed well enough to drive home the overall message. While maybe not perfectly sticking the landing on all fronts, I love both of these games and the themes they're presenting to the audience. So tell me, which of these games have you played? And what piece of media has your favorite revenge story? Let me know in the comments. And as always, play what you love and love what you play.